Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to today's Disney budget video. Today I'm going to be sharing all about how to budget for Disney, how to plan a Disney trip, and showing you our real life Disney budget for an upcoming trip. So if you're interested in all those things, you're gonna wanna stick around. If you are new, welcome to the channel. My name is Ashley. I'm all the time sharing tips, tricks, and hacks to taking a toddler to Disney, traveling with a baby, and Disney vlog adventures along the way. So I would love it if you would hit the red subscribe button, join my Disney internet fam, and stick around for more magical content, as well as if you are excited about this video and you learned something new, hit the like button. That really helps to support the channel and spread this to other Disney loving people here on YouTube. So with no further ado, let's jump into all the budget things. The biggest question I get is how far in advance should I start saving? Now that is not a one size fits all kind of question. I can't just blanket statement and answer that for everybody because your budget and your income level may be different than mine, and so vice versa. It all varies from person to person and family to family. So biggest tip I can give is start saving as soon as you even think you want to go to Disney. Obviously, if you change your mind, you can put that money somewhere else, but start saving sooner rather than later. And then following some of the other steps that I'm going to talk about in this video will give you a ballpark of what you need to save for, how much you want to spend. And that way you can kind of divide that savings goal out over the few months before your trip and start saving and working towards it. Next question is, what do you do with your money while you're saving for your trip? Now, I know a lot of people like to give the suggestion of going, when you go to the grocery store, buy a $25 gift card here or a $100 gift card there, whatever you can afford for your Disney trip. And while that can be a great idea, if you change your mind, then you're stuck with all of these Disney gift cards. So not that you're necessarily planning to fail, you also, things happen. If 2020 taught us anything, sometimes the world explodes and stuff happens. So I would just stick that back into a savings account and just, you don't touch it. For us personally, we have a vacation savings account, and every time we have money that we want to put in there, whether we get cash or if we have it, we take it out of our paychecks or whatever that is, we put it into that vacation savings account. Any cash, we deposit it into that account. If my girls, they want to collect money, we have our Mickey money jar, and so we put coins and dollars into that, and so that's our Mickey money, and so we put that into there once the jar gets full. So that's kind of ways that we keep our money just for us personally. If the gift card thing works for you, you do you, but that's just one tip that I wanted to share. The next big question on everyone's mind is, when is the cheapest time to go? And that varies by, there's basically two ways that you can stay on property at Disney World. You can stay in their traditional resorts or through renting DVC points. Now I'm gonna get into that in a bit, but the first way is staying obviously on property. As far as the categories for the year of 2023, looking at that calendar and the room rates for that, if you want to look at that for yourself, I can actually show you how. All you'll do is pull up the Disney World website. I put in for these random dates in the month of January, and then if you click on the rate details there, you can go down, and then all you'll have to do is click on to the view rate calendar, and then you can start scrolling through and see, for the month of January, you can get as cheap as $113, early February $113, but then those prices start to climb as we get into the months of spring break and then on into the summer months. You're up in the 170s there for a while. Looking at that rate calendar, you can see January is going to be your cheapest bet. Now, yes, it will be a little bit cooler. There may be days that you can't get in the pool depending on what you're used to and what temperature you find comfortable for getting in a pool. So that is one thing to keep in mind, as well as in the month of January, a lot of rides go down for refurbishment. It is a little bit slower period, which is why you're getting that better deal. So some of your favorite rides might be under refurbishment. Or if you're going for the first time, that's something to just keep in mind, that not every ride may be available. The next time frame is that end of August, early September time. It's still very hot there, but it is getting a little bit more bearable. It's not quite July. like middle of the summer hot there in the Orlando area. So that is a little bit cheaper. A lot of kids are either right back into school or are about to go back. So it's kind of in that window. Whenever kids are in school, that's usually a cheaper time to go to Disney World. So obviously that will vary whether your family can go or if you feel comfortable taking them out of school or doing remote or whatever works for you and your family. But those are some of the cheaper times for staying on property. And then the other way to stay on property is with Disney Vacation Club. We are personally members, but even if you're not a member, you can actually rent those either through the Disney website for a rack rate, or you can go through a rental company. My personal favorite and the absolute best deals out there is David's Vacation Club Rentals, which I will have a link to them in the description box below. You definitely have to read their frequently asked questions and kind of go over some of the pros and cons of renting DVC points, which I won't get into in this because that's an entirely separate video that it could be. But we have saved so much money renting through Disney Vacation Club. For us in the last 5 years, that's exclusively how we have stayed on property at Disney, is renting DVC points. We've recently become members, so we use that now, but up until then, that's how we did it. And if we run out of points as a DVC member and we want to stay more, we rent through David's Vacation Club Rentals. They are amazing. You can save so much money doing it that way. For us, a lot of times if you do a cost comparison of pricing out, say, a value or moderate resort, you can get very, very close and stay in a studio at a deluxe level resort that also gets you deluxe level perks. It's just a much higher end experience, and so it's a highly recommended experience. If you have never stayed deluxe, especially in a villa, do it. Do yourself a favor. It is the most magical experience ever. Like, if Disney could get more magical, it is a little more bougie, I guess, if you want to call it that, but it is so much fun and an amazing experience. And that's how we can stay deluxe for value prices, is with renting Vacation Club points. Now, when it comes to renting DVC points, their like cheapest time of year to go is first going to be the month of September. That is the absolute cheapest time you can go. Second being the entire month of January, and the 1st of May through the 14th of May. Those are the next category of cheapest times to go as far as points required, which again, a whole separate video, but points required are less during those phases. And then the third time that is the cheapest time to go is actually December 1st through the 23rd for the year 2023. That is a much wider window. You can experience the Christmas decorations, and Disney is so magical at Christmas. And that's another great way to save money, as again, renting DVC points. The next big thing is, when should I book my resort? And how can I save the most money on my resort? Now, with those, they kind of go hand in hand, but with two different schools of thought. There are some people that like to book as far out as absolute possible, put down that $200 deposit that Disney requires, and then they can add on any discounts that come out later to the resort they have picked, if that comes available, or if they're willing to change resorts and save a bit of money, then they will do that and switch resorts when a discount becomes available. Then the other school of thought is to basically just squirrel away all of that money until a discount drops and make your selection then, and just book it at that time frame. A lot of times the discounts will come out a few months ahead. Sometimes it'll be a few weeks ahead. It just depends. So you really have to, it requires a little bit of potentially last minute planning for some people, what some people would consider last minute planning, to be able to do that and wait until the deals and discounts are available. Now, as far as finding out what discounts are available, you can do that yourself on the Disney World website, or you can go through a travel planner. But if you want to do it yourself, you're like me, you're like, I like to do this myself. I'm very hands-on. I really enjoy planning, so I want to do this myself. All you'll need to do is pull up the Disney World website, and then when you're on the homepage, you are going to go over and hover over the places to stay, and then over on this right side, you see the little View Special Offers button. You are just going to click on that, and then it will pull up all of the current discounts available to you for whether it be resort stays or annual passes or merchandise or even US military members. Like, there are lots of discounts usually for them. And so you can find out anything you need to know there on that little site. So you can find out all of the deals that are currently available and how much you can save on your Disney resort from there. Next up is, how do you budget for children under 3? Now, obviously with a child under 3, you do not need to factor them into the cost. There's no extra cost for your resort. They do not need park tickets, so they are not charged for that. When it comes to dining at table service restaurants, they do not charge unless you order something. And then at like character meals and things, they usually have a infant's plate that you can get. Like if it's a character breakfast, get maybe scrambled eggs in a fruit cup, something like that. And so you do get free food, or they can eat off your plate. If it is family style, then they'll bring out a little bit more and your kid can have a plate and they can eat that way. So no extra charge, no extra things to budget for there. The only thing is, if your child is 2 or older, then they will need, obviously if you fly, a plane ticket. So you will need to factor that into your budget, as well as factoring in any snacks, diapers, sunscreen, things like that that you will pick up at the grocery store or have Amazon Fresh or whatever you decide to use, Instacart, Garden Grocer, anybody that delivers groceries to the resort. If you decide to do that, obviously you'll need to budget those things in as well. Anything that your kid's gonna need, that way I would definitely factor that in. That way you're not racking up this huge Amazon Fresh bill and they're like, oops, I forgot to add this into the budget. Yeah, I can tell you that because I've done that. I didn't think about that, and diapers are kind of expensive. So we had almost $100 and I was like, wait, I didn't budget for this. So yeah, learn from my mistake. Don't do that. Budget for those things and be sure to include that. So that is one tip for budgeting with little ones under 3 years old. And another thing to budget for with a little one like that is merchandise. Now, depending on their age, they may want to pick out their own merchandise. My toddler, who is almost 3, has got to the point where she likes to pick out her own souvenirs. And then my 1-year-old isn't quite there yet, and sometimes we'll pick out something for her. Or when she was a baby, we would pick out a cute onesie or something like that. But have a budget specifically for them. And that way, if you want them to be able to pick out their own, or you want to pick it out, whatever that is, have an amount set up that you know, okay, this is what our budget is going to be for souvenirs for the kiddos. Now that I've shared some tips and suggestions on when to plan your trip and discounts and how to find them, I want to jump into a real life budget. So this is our budget for our upcoming September trip. Yes, we are going back in September. If you've been around the channel for very long, you are not surprised by this at all, but we have one planned. So I want to jump into this. I am actually using my friend Becca Hart's budget template. So thank you, Becca and Andy, for making such an amazing and beautiful little creation. That is this budget template. I also hate it because it's like staring me in the face, this grand total. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it, but it's amazing and it helps me stay on track. But I will have a link to Becca's channel as well as her budget template in the description box below. So you guys can check that out and get it for yourself. It is so, so helpful. It steps you through everything that I'm going to talk about. And so it's just amazing. So definitely go buy that if you're planning a Disney trip. But I'm going to show you on screen so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So starting out here with our budget, we're going to talk about the resort budget first. So obviously we're going in the month of September. We are staying in a 2-bedroom at Animal Kingdom Lodge Kidani. And I know when I say 2-bedroom, you're like, how are you getting this price right over here for a 2-bedroom? This is split 3 ways. We are going to be traveling with my mom and dad and then my brother and sister-in-law. So we are splitting it between the 3 couples that are going on the trip. And yes, the girls are going too, but they don't pay anything. They don't pay money. So we will be splitting that 3 ways. And so that's how we get that amount, which actually came out to very similar to what it would have cost us to stay at the All-Star Sports. So if you're traveling with extended family and you want larger accommodations, this is giving us a full kitchen as well as a in-room washer and dryer. So that's really handy to have, especially with littles, you know that. But when it comes to having that kitchen, when I get into dining, it'll show you some of the other options that has opened up for us for saving money. So I'll get into that in a bit, but that's how I'm getting that whole discounted price for the 2-bedroom. So once we have split that price down, it is coming out to that $1,214. Now this, everything that we are plugging in is going to be calculated here into this grand totals little column over there on the far right, which is amazing. Jumping over here now to the tickets portion, we are going in the month of September. We're doing 6 park days. 2 of us are adults, 1 is a child. We are not doing the park hopper with having 6 days at the parks. I don't feel like the park hopper is needed. Now, if you're going for the first time or traveling with little ones, I suggest skipping the park hopper. It can be a lot. It can also be overwhelming to feel the need to hop to another park because you've paid that extra money. And so sometimes it gets to be a little bit more of a hassle than it is a help. And even a lot of families I've heard, even if you're going for shorter trips and you're going for 2 days and you want to do the park hopper and you want to do Magic Kingdom in the morning, Epcot at night, and Hollywood Studios in the morning, and then Animal Kingdom at night or something like that, it feels like a lot. So you're better off to pick 2 parks, focus on those, enjoy those, slow down, take your time, not have to rush, and just not have to skip pee breaks and meals and things to just make this all happen, so that it's not stressful. Just skip the park hopper, relax a bit, and I think it will help. It'll also save you some money if you are wanting to stick to a little bit better of a budget. So that is bringing us to a nice little subtotal here of $1422.33 and then tax. And so that comes over to there. And then on this second column here, we have Genie Plus. Now for us, we're going to be doing Genie Plus for 3 days on this trip. We've decided to do it for both of our Magic Kingdom days and our Hollywood Studios day. For us personally, we have been to Disney since Genie Plus, and we don't feel like we need it at Epcot or at Animal Kingdom. We can do early theme park entry and knock out a lot of the things that we want to do at both Epcot and at Animal Kingdom, and we didn't feel like we needed that. On this particular trip, we are spending 2 days at Epcot, so we'll be able to do a little bit more there as well, so we can rope drop some of those bigger rides like your Test Track, your Soarin', things like that earlier on one day, and then on another day we can do Remy's and do Frozen, things like that on other days. So don't feel like we need that for us personally, and that is one way that we are kind of cutting down on our budget. So for the 3 of us, now that we have a 3-year-old, I cannot believe we are buying her tickets and Genie Plus, but now that we have a 3-year-old, our little tax total there comes to $143.82 for our Genie Plus. And so that's how that is going to be calculated. The next thing we're coming down to is travel, and that's another thing that you have to think about. There's a lot to that all, so we won't have to worry about gas. We will be driving to the airport, but it's only an hour away, and so I'm not worried about calculating gas into that. We put gas in our cars each week anyway, so it's not a big deal. Now, I do have our flights booked. We will be flying, thankfully, with Southwest. I was able to get a deal on some flights for $181 a person round trip, you guys. I am so excited about that flight deal, and so that will help us so much. And so that brought our total for flights round to $543, which is not bad, and that price is actually very comparable to what it would have cost us to drive. So it's just a little bit more, and we're not having to spend 12+ hours in the car, and we were able to do that. Now obviously each time and prices vary, but we found a good deal this time, so we're flying again, so thankfully that worked out for us. And then our transportation from MCO to Disney World, we will be using a car company that we've decided to try, and so that is how much it's going to cost for the 3 of us. Now that my toddler is now 3 years old, she kind of counts into that equation, so that is that cost. And then that brings us up to $669 for our travel there. And since my family doesn't actually need the gas category over here, so I am just going to kind of customize this, which is another thing I love about this template, is it's completely customizable. Is I'm going to change the gas to airport parking. And so I will just go ahead and add in those numbers there once I find out exactly how much our airport parking is going to be, so that I can have that included in the budget and we're not surprised when we get home, hop in the car, and get that magical little total at the end. Next up, and to me, this is my favorite part of this budget template, is the dining section. So down at the bottom, you can see here that it has day 1, day 2, and then so forth, so on, and your totals. But if you look up here at the top, you can click on the dining tab. and that's going to take us over to this little beauty. And so there you can see it has day 1, 2, blah, 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 goes through. And then I have under that written which park we will be at. So I kind of had a little bit of an idea. Now for me personally, I feel like dining is where it can get really out of hand. And it's also the place that I can cut the most corners and save on our trip. So you can obviously save and do on your resort and your tickets, and you can scale back and you do things like that. But it's the little amounts here and there. It's like when you go to Target and you hit up the dollar spot and you come out with $66.78 worth of stuff from the dollar spot. It's like, I picked up dollar items. How did we get here so fast? It's the same way with budgeting for dining at Disney. It's a character meal here and table service there and signature here. And then next thing you know, you've spent $5,000 on food and you may or may not have enjoyed it. So I wanted to jump into this and kind of show you things that we're planning, how we are kind of incorporating some different ways of saving money and cutting cost here on this trip as well. And so jumping in to the dining, let's go back to the screen recording. So up here at the top, you can see where we are budgeting in little snacks. Now for our first day here, we're doing it in Paris, I think, question mark. And so for some little snacks, we'll do a couple of croissants and things. And so that isn't going to be too terribly expensive. So that was nice. We're doing a lighter side breakfast there. And then for lunch, we're gonna be doing Garden Grill, which that is a character dining meal. So that's a little bit more. We're gonna be splurging a little bit on that one. And so it comes in at $146 before your tip and taxes. And so once we go in and we add that, it is a $30 tip, as you can see. So when you go in and add that, the beauty of this is it adds the tax for you. So say we're gonna add a $5 tip to this tacos. Okay, so see, it changed that. Obviously, we will not be tipping ourselves in the room for making tacos, but that's another thing that we're doing is we are splitting a grocery bill and we are making tacos in the room. And see, that's the beauty of staying in a 2-bedroom is we can do things like this. One night, we are planning on making tacos in the room and having that. Another night, we're gonna do spaghetti. Are these groundbreaking meals? No, but they are going to feed the family and they are something that I know even my toddler will eat and enjoy. And so things like that definitely help to save on your budget. If you're traveling with a large party, definitely consider that and make some meals in the room. If you are going to spend and splurge on having that really nice room and that full kitchen, use it. Put it to use. You don't have to maybe cook and clean in it every meal, but add in maybe one or so every couple days, and that definitely helps to cut down on the cost. So it's just another option when you do have that in-room kitchen. So depending on your budget and what you're wanting to spend, I would definitely price out a comparison between a traditional room and a DVC villa. If your family is large enough and you're wanting to spend that kind of money, price it out and see what you can save, saving on food and how much the extra would be for having a kitchen and staying in that category of a room. You might be surprised how much it would actually offset. So just run some numbers, do a little math there, it can really help. Now, obviously on my dining budget, as you can see, it is very specific to the restaurant and the amount of people in my family that I will be feeding at each of these restaurants. And so how much is going to cost is going to vary for you and yours. So you can't take these numbers, but I'm gonna pop up here on the screen. This is my little cheat sheet and you can just take a screenshot of this. If you just want to kind of blanket, okay, I know I want to do one table service meal and one quick service meal and one of the character meals, or I want to do a signature meal this day, you can go ahead and kind of screenshot this, take that information and be able to do some quick math on estimates as to, okay, this is what it's going to be. And then as you're going through and you're kind of picking your dining and what quick services you think you'll want to eat at or what table services, then you can go ahead and start perusing menus and kind of get the amount. How I come up with my budget numbers is once I lock in and know exactly what quick service or table service restaurant we are going to be going to, I will look at the menu and pick out the most expensive thing that my family will eat. If your family, say the most expensive thing is steak and your family doesn't eat steak, you can roll it back to whatever the most expensive item is. But I know it's hard to decide and show your family all the menus and be like, well, what are you gonna want? It's 120 days out or something, and them actually decide right then and there what they want. If you're that decisive and you are that planned, that's amazing. But some people want a little spontaneity in their menu perusing when they are sitting down to eat, or at least waiting in line to eat. They want to be able to decide then. So I will do that. And then if there is a drink option, I'll do the most expensive drink, add that in there. We don't always do appetizers. And so whether you think you will at that restaurant, if there's something like, oh, I think we would probably eat this appetizer, go ahead and budget for that. And then come up with that nice little total. If you're doing a table service restaurant, go ahead and add the gratuity percentage that you would typically do, and you can kind of add that in. And I do the same thing for quick services. For me, I like to peruse the menus and I know what my family is used to eating. We have meat and potatoes people, we have picky people, we have veggie people, we have a little bit of everything. And so I try to keep that in mind when picking restaurants. And also doing that, I like to kind of make those selections ahead of time. That way I'm not having to stand there hot and sweaty with my group of 8 and ask, what do you want to eat? Because that conversation could go on for a while of everyone being nice and polite and letting someone else pick when the decision needs to be made and we need to get out of the heat. Now, when it comes to budgeting for dining for little ones, depending on how much your child eats will depend upon whether you need to budget for them or not. On my previous trip, my little baby was still in the 11-month phase, so she was just eating a few little finger foods here and there. So we would either bring food with us for her from our resort room, have it in a little cooler bag, or she would just eat off of our personal plate. Now, my toddler was getting to the point where she is starting to need her own meal. And so we did budget in enough for her to get a kids meal. And so I picked the most expensive kids meal again at each of the restaurants. And so that way she could pick whatever she wanted at that time. And we were able to do that. Now that we are going on this particular trip, I've still only planned for one kids meal because both of my girls, my toddler doesn't eat everything off of her kids meal, so it was enough food that they could have split it. My toddler could have ate that meal twice for most of the different meals that we had because it was just, it's a lot of food at most of them. So that is how we budget for our under 3-year-olds and 3-year-old once we go on this trip. And another way to save with your dining budget is to pack your own snacks. Do not spend $2.50 on a single banana at a food cart. Please don't do that. Order them with your grocery order some water, anything that your kids are gonna want, some apple slices, whatever it is, nuts, things like that. Please order them through a grocery order service. We like Amazon Fresh. Whatever your flavor of grocery ordering is, do it and save yourself some money. I have an Amazon Fresh video on how you can order that. If you are new to that step-by-step tutorial, I will link it in the description box. You can watch that video after this one. Save yourself some money. We do that and it saves a ton of money. You're not buying these really overly priced fruits when you could actually put them in a little soft-sided cooler and bring them in with you. One other thing I want to mention about purchasing your tickets is if you are going for a longer trip. So say for us, we're going 7 nights, 8 days. We were originally only going to do 5 park days and do 1 day at each park and then double up on Magic Kingdom. And that way we would have a little bit of a pool day and everything there in between. But we decided to add an additional day and go to Epcot because once you hit 5 days, it is less than $25 a person to add a 6th day and then from there on. So basically going from 5 days to 6 days was less than $25 a person. And then once you hit that number, going from 6 days to 7 days is less than $25 a person. And so for, depending on the time frame, sometimes if it's closer to Christmas, it may be closer to that $25. But even for us right now, we priced it out. And if we wanted to go from 6 days to 7 days, it would be like $13 a person. You can go to another Disney park for an entire day for $13. So keep that in mind when you're going, especially if you are considering wanting to double up on parks or do that instead of getting the park hopper. You can do multiple days at parks. So wanted to share that little tidbit. Definitely play around with those numbers because you can definitely save money and see more the more you go. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is our merch budget. Disney has lots and lots of things for you to buy and every ride exits into a gift shop. So it's very easy to pick things up and buy things a little along and that bill get astronomical by the end of your trip. You come home and your eyes literally bug out of your head when you look at your credit card statement because of all of the swiping or how low your bank account balance is if you do a debit card instead. So it can get to be a lot. So for us, as you can see on our budget here, we have a shopping budget of $400 for this trip. trip, we're going to do $100 per person. So that's $100 for me, my husband, for my toddler Lucy, and then for my now 1-year-old toddler Bella. So that is what we're going to do. How I like to do that, I know for some people $100 a person, and seeing that $400 number, that's a lot of money. And then for some of you that may be like, that's not enough. That I would blow through that in a day at Disney World. And so it just depends on your shopping style and your spending style. If you know, if you're like me pre having babies and you're like, oh, I may see a Dooney and Burke there that I would love to get and I would love to add to my Disney Dooney collection, then you need to budget for that. If you know that those bags run about $250, then you need to budget that $250 to do that. My husband at some point would love to build a lightsaber. And so if you know that's going to be $175, $275, $350, whatever that is, you need to budget that into your merch. Don't just blindly go into it and think, oh, I'll just charge it. Let's have a budget for it and plan accordingly. That way you're not surprised at the end of the trip. So definitely think of your spending habits, kind of know a little bit of how much you would spend if you were to see these items. That way you're not stuck to this small budget and you're knowing you're gonna see a Dooney there and think, oh, I would just absolutely love to have that, but I only budgeted $100. And then you feel bad if you put it on a credit card or something like that. So just save yourself any stress, keep yourself in that Disney bubble, and budget what you think you can handle. The next 2 biggest questions that I get is, how do you pay for everything and how do you stick to a budget? Now these kind of go hand in hand, and so I'm going to answer them in that order, but they go together. So how I pay for everything is, and I actually have a video, I will link it in the description box. I feel like everything is a link, but I will put it down there and you can check that out as well, on how I purchase our Disney gift cards for the absolute cheapest amount for us. Yes, more than Target. Watch the video and you can do the math for yourself and find out. But it saves me more than Target, more than 5%. I will have gift cards. I use that for both our Disney tickets as well as our dining and our merch and everything. When it comes to sticking to your budget while you're there, for us, we like to utilize the Disney gift cards. So once I do save the amount of money that I want to spend on dining, I will go ahead and go and purchase those when that discount 4 times the points comes around, and I will actually combine those into one gift card if I can, or a couple of different ones. You can go on to disneygiftcard.com. I will have, again, a link to it in the description box below if you need to combine some gift cards. It is an amazing way to do that so you don't have a few little balances here and there. And I will usually put like a little sticker or a food sticker or something on the gift card. That way I can know that's for that amount. And then when it comes to spending money for myself, my husband, kids, and so I will have a separate gift card for each of us to use. And that way everybody can see when you get that printed receipt, it usually has there on the bottom how much your gift card has left, and so you can kind of know exactly what you've got left and kind of keep up with it that way. That is the biggest way to save. That way when that gift card is getting close to done, you know, okay, we've got to scale this back, we've got to slow our roll, and that kind of saves a bit of money there. And then another way to do that is set a limit on your credit card. For us, we use our Disney Chase Visa card as our basically travel card, and so we have a limit set on that. We're able to call a company and say, hey, we want to set this limit, and they will let you set the lower limit. Like if you have a $5,000 limit and you want it to be, say, $2,000, you can call and say, hey, I only want my limit to be $2,000. That way you know I can't spend over that. And so you can kind of keep up with it, and once you get near that limit, you know, okay, I can't keep buying, I can't keep spending money on merch in the stores, whatever it is, and just set yourself a limit that way. And that's another great way that we have found that works for us. I hope you enjoyed this Disney budget video. I know it is probably a million minutes long, but I hope it was very helpful. If you have any further questions, please link them in the comment section below. That way I can either answer them there or compile them and make another Disney budget video and answer a bunch more questions for you guys. But I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button down below. Join my Disney internet fam. I would love to have you, and I will see you guys right back here in another video. Bye guys.